Hey everyone, welcome back to all my listeners. This is episode number 15 of season 8. Today is Wednesday, April 12th, 2023. My name is Sonal Patel, and this is the Paint the Medical Picture podcast series. Now, I'll write you guys remember to please go ahead and follow this podcast on Spotify as well. Because remember, Anchor just recently announced that they have become Spotify for podcasters. So I'd love your continued support of my content-rich value-add podcast on Spotify. So I've made sure to include a link in my show notes as well for you to show your loyal support of my Paint the Medical Picture podcast on Spotify. And I know it's going to be super easy for so many of you that have already downloaded and use every day the Spotify app on your desktop or on your cell phones, because you listen to really great music and you generate playlists of your own, right? For really cool, hip, new music all the time. So it's super easy to just go ahead and start following my podcast on Spotify as well. Now, all right, you guys, let's go ahead and dive into today. And you know, it's the second Wednesday of the month. And what does that mean? You should all know by now that it's going to be my spotlight on the OIG Work Plan for the month, right? And then following up with that is going to be my Trusty Tip, again, circling back up to that newsworthy feature of the OIG Work Plan, and I'm going to highlight nursing homes. And then to round out today's episode, I definitely want to talk about a remarkable quote in Spark by our famous American poet, Sylvia Plath. Now, if you guys have checked me out on LinkedIn, you know I'm all about compliance and protecting our physicians and our valued healthcare professionals when it comes to the business of medicine. I hope this week with me brings you enough to take back to your organizations, to want to dive in deeper, to use my tips and best practices to ensure success. I hope this podcast will help you boost the quality of documentation capture and improve your coding accuracy as you help all your providers paint the medical picture. If you like what you're hearing, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss another episode. Please write in a review and kindly drop me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, and definitely start following me on Spotify as well. And go ahead and continue listening in to wherever you find my podcast as well. Now, as always, a friendly disclaimer. Remember, I'm bringing you the news, current healthcare industry news, my compliance tips and my compliance recommendations based on my over 12 years of experience in compliance, in front office, in back end, in coding, and in billing for multi-specialty physicians, in auditing as well for both E&M and surgical operative reports. These are my opinions alone and are not to be construed as legal advice. Today's episode is sponsored by Advanced Coding Services, a leading medical billing and medical coding school in the United States. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned professional, our training equips you with the tools and support you need to advance your career. Our medical billing and coding school meets your needs worldwide online or in person with one-on-one support throughout your training. We are committed to helping our alumni and credentialed medical community in keeping up their certifications by offering various avenues for acquiring your continuing education units. In addition to our Mastering the Business of Medicine retreats offered several times throughout the year in different parts of the country, we now offer memberships. You can conveniently earn your CEUs by attending our exclusive members-only webinars. Since our aim is to nurture and grow the careers of individuals who work in the business of medicine, we call our member area the Apple Orchard. Advanced Coding Services, educate, nurture, inspire, reaching back with a hand up. So let's get into Newsworthy. The month of March's OIG Work Plan updates. Now, this is a very short and very sweet update for the first time in a very long time. There's only one OIG Work Plan update for the month of March as of the time of this recording. Now, the first and final OIG Work Plan update for March 2023 is titled State Survey Agency Processes for Overseeing Nursing Home Preparedness. Now, this report is coming from the Office of Evaluation and Inspections. Historically, nursing homes have experienced challenges preparing for and responding to emergencies. To address these challenges, HHS has taken steps to bolster nursing home emergency preparedness and response through regulations such as CMS's Conditions of Participation, or COPs. However, prior OIG reviews and continued challenges during recent emergencies have highlighted gaps, including gaps related to state survey agencies, or SA, reviews of nursing home adherence to those conditions of participation, those COPs. So this particular OIG evaluation will determine three things. Number one, what processes survey agencies use to oversee nursing home emergency preparedness. Number two, what promising practices, challenges, and/or limitations exist within those processes. And finally, third, how CMS or other HHS agencies can best support survey agencies. This final report is expected in fiscal year 2024. All right, so the pandemic has had a huge effect, right, on nursing homes over these last 3 years. I remember the news, the headlines were filled with nursing home related news, right? Now, they definitely experienced so many challenges, and it definitely emphasized the many gaps in the current systems in place. So I think these OIG work plan updates and reports with findings are always most interesting and informative. And I look forward to analyzing these reports in the years ahead. It's also important for all of you, my listeners, to go ahead and pay attention to these monthly OIG work plan updates to see how they may impact you, your provider, or your health system. And now, it's time for my best practice tips in Trusty Tip. So in today's compliance tip, I wanted to circle back on our sole newsworthy OIG work plan item for March 2023, addressing nursing home challenges faced by state survey agencies during the pandemic. Now, there was also a timely March 31st, 2023 OIG report that was just issued on, you guessed it, nursing homes. Now, in it, it goes over some facts that include that nursing homes are intended to be places of comfort and healing. More than 1.4 million individuals live in over 15,500 Medicare and Medicaid certified nursing homes across the country. Now, most nursing homes in the United States are certified to serve as both skilled nursing facilities, which provide a clinically managed recovery period after a person's illness or injury, and long-term care facilities that deliver health care and services a resident needs for mental or physical conditions not rising to the level of skilled nursing care. Now, decades of OIG work on nursing homes has uncovered widespread challenges in providing safe, high-quality care. Now, the OIG's audits, evaluations, and investigations have raised concerns regarding staffing levels, background checks for employees, reporting of adverse events experienced by residents, as well as other issues. Now, proper nursing home care requires a partnership involving federal, state, and local entities, the provider community, residents, and their families. To protect residents, the OIG continually assesses nursing home performance and oversight. They monitor the impact of program changes, and they use their enforcement tools to address misconduct. Now, there are several key goals in this report. Key OIG nursing home oversight. But for this particular trusty tip, right, I just want to hone in on what's important to this trusty tip. I want to focus on the OIG's number one, promoting emergency preparedness and response efforts. Now, in this particular promotion, here, the nursing home residents and their families rely on facility administrators to plan and execute appropriate procedures during emergency events, such as emergency infectious disease outbreaks, of course, like our COVID-19 pandemic, right? Natural disasters and life safety threats. Non-compliance with preparedness requirements and plans can place residents at increased risk of injury or death during an emergency. Now, in 2020, the OIG quickly pivoted to new work to help protect nursing home residents during this COVID-19 pandemic. These individuals are particularly vulnerable to infectious diseases, obviously, as we saw over these past 3 years, such as the COVID-19. Now, due to their age, as well as underlying medical conditions. And finally, number 2, this report also focuses on strengthening frontline oversight, right? So state survey agencies are on the front lines for ensuring nursing home quality and safety. States conduct on-site surveys at nursing facilities to evaluate the care that they provide and respond to allegations of noncompliance with federal requirements from residents, their families, staff, and others. Now, OIG reports have identified shortcomings in state agencies' effectiveness and recommended improvements to strengthen this safety system for nursing home residents. All right, so I thought the OIG's work here on nursing homes specific to the pandemic are very important to highlight today, right? So with the pandemic officially ending just around the corner here, right, on May 11th, 2023, these reflections on identified challenges, gaps, deficiencies, whatever you want to call them, these reflections are truly needed to help protect some of our most vulnerable population for the next time, for the next infectious disease that swoops in. We must do better on the front lines. The lives lost during this pandemic should serve as the biggest motivator, the biggest wake-up call for the much-needed process improvements that need to be made to prevent this number of lives lost in the nursing home setting the next time. And finally, I focus Season 8 Spark on creativity. I want this 8th season Spark to be filled with our world's thought leaders, writers, artists, philosophers, everyone who inspires the need for creativity in all we strive to do. So in this week's inspiring quote in Spark is from the American poet Sylvia Plath. The worst enemy to creativity is self-doubt. Absolutely true, right? I think this is an amazing quote that reminds us to never let doubt stop us from creating. I think this quote inspires us to keep going despite moments of waver. I think this quote reminds us that everyone experiences these feelings in the work they try and put out. Regardless, this quote shows us to be bold, to be brave, to be creative. I'm happy Sylvia Plath's spark still shines on in all of us today. So that wraps up today's episode. And as always, I appreciate you all diving into today with me. If you want more information from me, please go ahead and follow me on LinkedIn. I'll leave links to everything in the show notes below. So in my final note today, spring is definitely in the air, right? I hope you're finding some time to take those mental health breaks in your workday and get outside, even if it's only for a quick walk. Breathe it in. Enjoy the sunshine on your face, your mind clear and open, your heart steady and strong. Now, I hope you're all going to be enjoying a wonderful Easter weekend. I'm recording this episode, so I'm hoping you're all celebrating with friends and family the Easter holiday and long weekend. Hopefully some of you have it as a long weekend for yourselves. So thank you guys so much for listening in on today's episode. And I hope every week with me brings you closer to helping your providers paint a masterpiece. See you next Wednesday.